So Palantir has been on an epic run, and the question is now starting to come up, will it hit $100 per share or not? Well guys, it's a simple one today here. We're going to discuss, is Palantir going to hit $100 per share or not? And of course, Wall Street has an opinion on that. So let's break that down, see exactly what they have right, what they have wrong, and kind of what all of it means for Palantir, and do we get to that $100 mark or not? Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, and that's exactly what you're going to get today, guys. Despite the fact that some folks want to comment and say, because I'm asking the question if Palantir can hit $100 or not, somehow I'm hyping it up, and then you can tell that they actually didn't watch the video. Yeah, don't be those guys. At least watch and listen to the logic, and then if you want to go down and blast me, I got no issues with that whatsoever. And the biggest discount for my group is live right now for the Cyber Week sale, so make sure you check out the pinned comment if you want to get the biggest discount ever for my group. We'll talk more about that at the end there, but that's the way we have discussions on Palantir multiple times every day. I release a lot of exclusive videos talking about Palantir. Of course, if you want to see my buy alerts just this year in Palantir in the $20 range or so, you would have seen all those. See my complete watch list with price targets, a lot more. Again, we'll talk about it at the end here, guys. But let's get into the video here. Let's see exactly what Wall Street's saying, and let's see if $100 per share is actually feasible or not.
Welcome back to Next Gen Investing. It's time for FOMO. Today we discuss Palantir, one of the stocks that's made one of the most FOMO-esque moves over the last quarter plus, up over 130% over the last 3 months. Joining me, of course, is Caroline Woods for the hour here on Next Gen. Jenny had this day off. Let's talk Palantir. It looked like, we were starting to run out of some momentum here. The stock was sort of floundering, not going up, 5% a day. It was only going up like 1 or 2% a day, but back to its winning ways today, up to a new all-time high, just below $70 a share here in real time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny there. That's exactly what was going on in our group there. We were kind of like, oh, what's going on with Palantir? It's only moving a percent or two today, all joking, all in fun there. Obviously, they're having fun with it too. And I do believe, I didn't believe it earlier, but now we can definitely say this is a big FOMO candidate in regards to the stock market here. So let's kind of see what they say there. Obviously this is from a couple days ago, whenever it broke that $70 mark the first time, just kind of part of my release schedule here, just it's not due to release until today. So that's exactly the reason why we're a little bit behind here. But nonetheless, the topics we're talking about here are absolutely irrelevant. Nothing. I mean, I realize it's moving giant in a couple days worth of time, but it's not moving that giant in regards to time. Everything we're going to talk about today is still relevant to the stock itself.
All right, Alex, I was waiting for you to put me in my place by calling it the FOMO stock of the year, but I'm going to say that no disagreement means maybe you agree with me. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say when you take a look at this chart that it's been losing a ton of momentum, because it's been basically a straight shot higher since earlier, I would say, I guess, since August, really. And shares are up another 5% today, up more than 300% year to date. What could be behind today's gains, Palantir announced that it received FedRAMP high authorization for its Palantir Federal Cloud Services and then the Cloud Services Supporting Services. FedRAMP, I'm reading this here because it's not something I'm very familiar with, but it's a government-wide initiative designed to facilitate the adoption of secure cloud services across federal agencies by offering a standardized approach to security and risk assessment. So this authorization basically covers all of Palantir's product offerings, and it allows the company to provide these services to the U.S. government at the FedRAMP high baseline. So the CTO of Palantir was out with an announcement following this, saying, with the addition of this FedRAMP high offering, Palantir is excited to accelerate our work with other technology partners, big and small, government or commercial, to enable their technology to be securely operated on behalf of USG missions. So definitely another bullish point for Palantir today, with shares just absolutely surging higher. Once again, up more than 5%. And like I said, if you take a look, up about 308% year to date, which makes it a pretty good FOMO candidate, I would say, Alex, and potentially pretty good for a pretty good FOMO candidate for analysts as well.
Okay, so we'll talk about the analyst piece here in just a second. In terms of the FedRAMP and all that good stuff, that is great for future offerings and such. If you understand government contracting, a lot of those sort of things like that, they just take time. Trying to price that in today, whenever that FedRAMP, although I believe it's a huge catalyst long term, if you haven't noticed the way Palantir kind of works in general, everything's kind of a nice steady move up. It's not these, it doesn't move in terms of growth the same exact way the stock has been going the past couple months here. We'll kind of say that. So I think that's a huge positive. Again, not only do I think they're the only ones that can provide a solution that can actually help our federal government in regards to that, that clears the way for them to be able to do actually more with the federal government as well. Obviously, with a lot of the efficiency things, the government, the incoming, administration's wanting to do. Another positive that makes Palantir kind of probably going to be the only competitive bidder and a lot of these sorts of things. Just keep in mind that although I'm super excited about this, it's going to take time for all these contracts to actually roll in and start hitting that bottom line there. And that's kind of what I want to make sure we're tempering here. The segment's called FOMO. FOMO is overpaying for something that's, years away, and you don't want to do that. And you don't want to be in that situation here. And a lot of this revenue and a lot of the big revenue that I think is coming in the future there. That doesn't mean sell Palantir or anything else like that, but it just means understand that although that's great that the traders are rewarding it today, long-term buy and held investors know, hey, we're not really going to see huge gains from that for a year or two as these contracts start to come up, come due, get bid on, go through the process. I mean, the process is just slow. And then who knows if our federal government will be able to actually fund a budget or not to actually pay these contracts on time. That's been part of the problem with Palantir's earnings in the past, has been, hey, our numbers would look better, but the government contracts have been delayed. Government can't pass a budget, therefore, we haven't been paid yet. We know the money's coming. It's going to be made good, but it's just delayed because of our budget process and all those sort of things like that. So that's all I want to let you guys know. Is just kind of, hey, temper that expectation a little bit and understand. It doesn't mean there's going to be a gajillion dollars worth of contracts coming here next quarter. It's probably going to take a little bit of time for these sort of things to ramp up, to go through the process and to get there. But will they get there? Yes. Are they experts at working through the process? Absolutely. I have no concerns that they won't get the vast majority of those contracts. It's just timing wise, it's going to take a lot longer than we expect and what you're used to in regards to software and other things of that nature, where obviously if you're going commercial, it can go a lot faster than it can through the government.
Totally. It's got a fun, unique, fun being different, I guess. I don't know how fun the Palantir business is, but doing stuff in machine learning and data analysis and AI that is certainly, sought after at the moment. Kind of had a short interest, a high short interest over the years. It's down a lot now. It's come down in recent months too, which might have fueled some of this FOMO-esque. And then the move.
Well, of course, because they were busy getting roasted. Pretty simple stuff there. I don't know why people want to go short in the market. It's never made sense to me. It's a losing proposition compared to betting the other side. It's kind of like, hey, yeah, you win once every 10 years, but congratulations, you lost the other 9 years. That's kind of the way I feel about short sellers. Like whenever you just look at the market, the average bear market's less than a year. The average bull market's like 6-7 years, something like that nature. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, the winning side's on the bull. So yeah, I may lose 1 year, but I'm going to win the other 5 or 6 years coming out of it there. So that's just, I don't know, simple percentages, simple math to me. That's why it's never made sense for me to be a bear. But nonetheless, people do it. So hey, it is what it is, not my money. It's actually, it's not even their money. It's their investors' money. So I guess people want to play that game, go for it.
The move alone could warrant a discussion for FOMO stock of the year, but it's got a lot of things, I think, working for it to put it in that camp. But the other thing that really seems to have turned the corner on Palantir here is the drawdowns are just not as frequent. Used to be it'd have huge moves, and then it would be like, 2 steps forward, 1 pretty big step back, 3 steps forward, another big step back. It's just been soaring and really very little negative, movement along the way over the last month.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you take a look at the chart, even earlier this year, it was basically kind of flat from February through almost the end of June. So it's pretty impressive how much the stock, and when you take a look at the year-to-date performance, it's really been more in the back half of the year. I mentioned the analysts potentially having FOMO too, Alex, and this is one that has continuously perplexed me because despite the fact that...
All right, so yeah, kind of looking at the chart right there, definitely it's been kind of an explosion up here. Lots of theories behind it. I've heard institutional ownership has gone up a lot. Obviously those guys tend to be more long-term investors. Obviously they're coming in with big boats of money. They're making big buys, which of course pushes the price up. And I just think overall, there's really a bullishness in the market overall. You've seen big moves from a lot of companies here at the end of the year. It's not just simply a Palantir thing, although they've been kind of the biggest. And obviously us as a retail crowd, definitely one we've been in for a while. But this is why, we talk about all the time in regards to share count mattering and why a DCA is just the easiest way to buy stocks, because look at that chart there. You've essentially had, and I mean, this one only goes, I'd love to see that thing all the way back to 2022, but you get periods of time for a year plus where this stock just trades basically flat. Yeah, it has some nice runs up, but then it pulls back. And you could just basically, if you DCA during that entire time, look at that line, all those numbers are all, right around that $20 to $30 range or so. I mean, that's an extended period of time where you could have a really, really nice average. So that way you're not stuck chasing later on doing this. And if you were playing trading games during that time, we saw how that's worked out for everybody out there trading, especially here in the YouTube space. It just got roasted in the end because it is so hard to do, so hard to predict these movements. And, you know, in this case, shoot, you're stuck chasing. If you really want to own Palantir long term and you were playing games with it, now you're chasing. And this is like the worst case nightmare as an investor, is chasing a stock that you love that is clearly overvalued. But does it keep going? How far does it keep going? I mean, we thought it was overvalued at, you know, $45. And yet here we are at 70. This is what happens in the market, especially with a high growth name, especially a name that's getting a lot of institutional attention now that it wasn't getting prior to that. This is what happens. And so you don't want to be stuck in that spot. But I just kind of want to point out that chart there, that whenever you just simply execute, ignore the noise, and don't get into all the other games, you can have a very nice average and a lot of shares, and you always get time to build it out. You're right. If you're starting today, you didn't get time to build out. But I remember the feeling, people having the same exact feeling. I don't know what the line is there, but that first big bump up after December of 2023, there was a lot of folks that said, hey, I missed it. I can't get into it. What do I do? That line's probably right around 20 bucks or so. So obviously, and then you had a full year to basically pile into the stock before, maybe more than a year, before it got its next big leg up there. And then obviously the huge leg up here in November. So you've had plenty of time to get into the stock there if you executed that plan. If you played other games, you ended up missing it, unfortunately, at this particular point in time. Now, obviously, if you believe Palantir is a great company long term, did you really miss it? Is $70 the cap? Is that where you have it in 5 years? Well, then maybe you did. But I don't think a lot of us have $70 as the cap either, so you didn't really miss it as well. But that's what happens whenever you play those games.
Palantir has been on this really rise higher since August. We haven't seen the analyst community get any more bullish. The few bulls that are out there have upped their price target. But if you take a look at the breakdown, there are still only 3 buy ratings for Palantir, and the median price target is $39 a share. Palantir is currently trading at almost $70 a share right now. So it just always surprises me, despite the fact that we continue to see bullishness from investors around this name, that we haven't seen analysts change their tune. If you take a look, there are 13, it looks like 19 analysts that cover the company. 10 are in the neutral camp. So not all out bullish, but there are 6 bears. There are 6 with sell ratings on this name, and only 3 buys at this point. And I mean, obviously, given the fact that it has run so much higher, you know, maybe you could make the case that there's not enough, you know, not a lot of room to run. I will say, in terms of the highest price target on the street, it's $75 a share, which is only $5 upside from where it is currently trading. And there's 2 of those, and then a $70 price target at CFRA. But I did also check, because I know you like to check when these were all updated, and almost every single price target or rating was updated in November of this year. So they're all up to date, and they're all mostly neutral.
I think.
Okay, so let's talk about analysts here real fast. In regards to what she just said, all the different analysts, who's neutral, who's bearish, you know, who's bullish, whatever the case is, I could care zero about it. I don't care. It literally means nothing. If you understand how that game is played, they do not make price targets based upon valuations. Now, they may say that in their little write-ups, whatever the case is. They are being told what to put as price targets, whether to be bearish, whether to be bullish, whatever the case is. Go look it up. Go look up analysts, you know, sell-side analysts, all that other sort of stuff like that, and see exactly what that game is. Either these people on these shows are either willfully ignorant, or they just have no clue, or that's just they understand it's part of the game, and we're just talking about the game per se. That is totally irrelevant to what's going on with analysts. I have never put any weight in their price targets. I've never put any weight in what they're thinking or anything else. Really, the only thing I've ever been able to really see, not value in, but any sort of thing that they were telling us that had any inkling of value would be just kind of where the momentum is going. But clearly they've been wrong on that, because the momentum has been with Palantir for, you know, obviously she's saying these all went down in November. Well, the momentum's been with them in November, and typically they're chasing it, right? Typically the stock's going up, then magically they all upgrade. And then when the stock's going down, they all magically downgrade. You know, they're never ahead of the curve. They're always behind the curve in regards to that. But more importantly, you just got to understand that they are playing a different game. They're not trying to give you, hey, we really think it's fair value right now. We really think it's overvalued right now. Even the people that are bullish on it and giving bullish price targets, they're not necessarily playing that game in regards to valuation or anything else. They are simply playing a game where it is affecting and impacting, and they're hoping continues to kind of push the narrative that they want pushed to accentuate their trades on the back end. That is it. That is how the game works. We can talk about whether it's right or wrong all day long. It doesn't freaking matter. That is how it goes. So that's why I pay zero interest to analysts. I don't care whether they get upgraded, downgraded. Literally means zero to me. Traders will trade it, of course. I would agree there completely. So if you're playing trading games, it can make sense. Beyond that, absolutely worthless to you as a long-term buy and hold investor. So completely ignore that stuff.
Explains, what you see. I mean, you see a stock that's watched its valuation swell from what has been an average of like 60 times forward earnings over the years to 183 times forward earnings in real time based off estimates. And then you look out at sort of how those earnings and revenue or whatever metric you want to use for its growth is priced out. You would think it's priced for like this tremendous acceleration, and it's not really. So I know that they're really stepping into the more commercial space now, Caroline, and that's seen as a growth driver beyond just the stable government contracts. But the numbers alone, I can see why analysts are hesitant.
But hesitant with much lower price targets. I mean, I mentioned the three highest, but from there it goes to 54, then 47, 42, 38, 30, 28. So, I mean, it's not just that it's been priced in. It's that they see this stock or, their price targets mean the stock would have to be cut in half or a third. And so,
which adds up with the valuation,
that happen, Right, but we haven't necessarily seen that yet, which is why I think it's still a good FOMO candidate, because you can't imagine that if we're saying to hold at $20 a share or to sell at $30 a share, that might be a very popular call based on what we've seen in terms of the stock. But all of that being said, how could someone trade a name like Palantir, given the fact that it seems like you're making the case that valuations are pretty stretched on this name, but given the fact that we've seen so much bullishness on this name in terms of stock price performance?
Yeah, I'll get to the example trade in a minute. I want to kind of comment on that because I think it's an important thing is defining, what your position or exposure in your name is. Is it a trade? Or is it an investment? Because investment's going to be a little bit more exposed, of course, to those long-run valuations and how things change over time. Valuations can be expensive for quite a while. So if it's just a trade, maybe this is just riding the momentum of which there's a lot of optimism and excitement around this name right now. Who's to say that going to 200 times earnings is all that different than 183 in the near term? And so I looked at a trade that's bullish.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right there. He actually gets into, in the end, his bullish trade has the stock going to $100 per share, which is kind of the topic there of the video. I'm not going to get into the crazy things he was doing in order to do that, but the basis of the trade was if it runs up to $100, he's going to make a lot of money. Okay, makes sense. In regard, all of us are, by the way, in regards to that. So obviously, stocks can reach a point, and I don't believe we are there yet, with Palantir where it's prudent to take profits or to pull money off the table because the valuation is so stretched that it's going to take years. It's going to trade down or flat for a period of years. For me, personally, as a long-term buy and hold investor, that's really, really hard to determine. So you've got to be stupid overvalued. And we are not stupid overvalued yet, especially when we haven't had next year's guidance yet, which I think Alex is going to increase, which of course brings that valuation up even further, making the gap not as wide as what it was before. And don't worry, we'll talk about, can Palantir get to $100 per share or not here in just a second. I'll touch on that too. But whenever we're talking about valuation and things of that nature, yes, I agree with him and the analysts and everybody else out there saying it's overvalued. It is absolutely overvalued, but that is very, very common in a growth stocks journey. And when you start trying to guess those type things, now you've turned into a trader, but you're probably poorly trading at that stage, right? There's a lot of folks who got out of this stock at $15 because it was overvalued. Yeah, it was at the time, but when did you get back in? And more importantly, what happened to all those folks that saw the perfect trade at $12 because it was guaranteed to go back down to $7 and it ran up to $20? Now what are you doing? Now you're chasing. And we played this game repeatedly with Palantir over the past couple of years where it gets overvalued. In some cases, not as overvalued as we are right now, I would agree. But we get overvalued and then everybody starts saying, "Ooh, should I sell? Should I take my profits?" It's a discussion that happens all the time. And people were asking that whenever it got to 30, 35, 40, 45. What would your feelings be like if you took profits right now and it ran up, like it had? If you took profits at 45 and now it's sitting at 70, Now you're trying to rebuy. Not only do you have a tax bill if you had a lower cost basis like I do, but now you got a tax bill you got to pay. And on top of that, I'm chasing. So I'm forced to buy shares at a higher price. That's a very, very difficult game to play that I don't want to play as an investor. Yes, I have laid off all my buys. I don't plan on buying anytime soon. And no, I don't believe we're in a Tesla 2021 situation in regards to that. Now you can just look at simple valuation and be able to tell that we're not even close to 1,000 PE yet in regards to, Palantir versus what we had in Tesla back then at that stage. So we're not to that point yet. However, he made the case that it could go to $100. And when you have this sort of unrelenting momentum, you have Wall Streeters who have been behind the whole year. They're lagging. Hedge funds, look at them. Look at all the different hedge funds. They had negative or no returns before this latest run here, kind of in the market, kind of, October, November, December, end of December here. They had negative returns or just barely over 1%. Now they're barely over 8, 9, 10%. The market's up almost 30% in that time or over the course of the year. They're significantly lagging the market because they were busy playing those trading games. So it made sense that they're going to continue to push names that have momentum, where we have institutional buyers coming in as well, and continue to push them up as high as possible in order to try to score those bonuses. Can we get to $100 per share? I think it's unlikely, but I'd hate to say it was impossible either, because when you have this sort of momentum and you have Wall Streeters who need bonuses, and that's how they're going to get their bonuses, by pushing something way up and then taking their profits, that's exactly what we may very well see here at the end of the year. So I think it's unlikely that we see $100 per share. But if you would ask me whenever we were at $50 a share, if we were going to hit 70, I would have been like, I mean, it's possible, but probably not. And dude, I was obviously I win whenever I'm wrong in those particular scenarios, trying to be conservative because I own the stock. I didn't sell it. I just, I don't know. You're telling me at 50, is it going to go to 70? I mean, I guess it's possible. That's a giant move. And then bang, here we are a month later and you're at 70. So I think 100 is a step too far. I believe in his analysis there on his trade. It was just, there was so many things that had to go right in order for us to hit 100, but say it's impossible is also, would be silly on my part too. Now, am I speculating? Of course, 100%. I have no desire to speculate on that sort of thing or try to trade it or anything else like that, like he was trying to do there. I'm simply just going to hold, but I'm absolutely watching that valuation. And man, if we get some sort of ridiculous, crazy spike here at the end of the year, I might have to revisit the conversation of if it's as overvalued as Tesla was in 2021 or not. Definitely a conversation we may have to have, but we're not there yet. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to enjoy my gains in Palantir and focus on other parts of my investing. And remember, if you want to see all my buy and sell alerts in real time, get that inside information on Palantir where we discuss it specifically, be able to ask me specifically about Palantir, all sorts of other things like that. The biggest discount ever for my group is going on right now for Cyber Week. It's the pinned comment down there. Make sure you check it out and see if a membership's right for you, where you get 5 courses for free. You get free coaching. You get access to the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. We do live Q&As at least weekly. You can slide into my DMs. There's so many different things that go on in the group there, guys. So many different discussions. So many folks that want you to succeed. So check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.